A grizzled, fat, and disillusioned Pooh is captured by General Robin and Piglet to get back into fighting shape, and just in time to save his friend Tigger from a mysterious island. We're going to talk about Pooh versus Bambi, number 2, from Zenescope. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Pooh versus Bambi, number 2, from Zenescope Entertainment. This issue is written by Noah Mitchell, with art by Jordi Tarragona, colors by Juan Manuel Rodriguez, letters by Taylor Esposito, and the cover art for cover A is drawn by Jordi Tarragona. In 60 seconds or less, let's recap what happened in issue number 1. Pooh and Bambi were out on a special ops mission to infiltrate an illegal research and development laboratory. They get into the lab and they find out that there's evidence that Pooh and Bambi are not rescued as orphans and trained to be elite military soldiers, but that they are the result of an illegal and illicit genetic engineering experiment partially funded by the government. Bambi loses his mind over the revelation and he goes crazy, and unfortunately Pooh is forced to kill him. When Pooh gets back to headquarters, unfortunately the military now knows that he is aware of the secret and they turn on him, but he fights his way out and escapes and spends the next few years living in the forest like a nomad. That brings us to Pooh versus Bambi number 2. Pooh is brought back to headquarters after many years by force from Piglet and her special ops team. General Robin, who is sort of a father figure to Pooh, says, "Look, I need your help because only you can do this. We sent Tigger in, who is still part of our team, to find and capture and bring in Dr. Candace Gardner, aka Kanga, because she's still doing illegal or illicit genetic experiments. When Tigger went in, the homing device says Tigger is still on the island, but she is no longer responding. We think something happened to her. Nobody knows better how to get Tigger out of a sticky situation than you, Pooh, and I need your help." Pooh reluctantly agrees. Although they don't like each other very much, Pooh and Piglet have to go on the mission together with Piglet's elite squad of soldiers. They fly to the island and prepare for a halo jump. Suddenly the plane is shot out of the sky, and the soldiers are forced to evacuate the plane via parachute, which they were going to do anyway, but a little bit earlier than expected. And as the soldiers are floating down, they're attacked by a flock of giant birdmen. And Piglet is forced to cut her parachute loose and make a hard landing in the jungle on the island. Piglet is still alive, but unfortunately not in great shape, because it turns out the place where she lands is right in the middle of a nest of gigantic talking spiders, and she's stuck in their web. They begin to creepy crawl toward her and any other soldier that lands in their web and drain them dry of all bodily fluids in a very painful way. And just before the spider latches on to Piglet, Pooh jumps down and he manages to start ripping the spiders apart. There's too many of them to fight off by himself, but with a few well-timed shots to the head and some leg-ripping feats of strength, Pooh and Piglet race off to find the compound in the middle of the island. When Pooh and Piglet reach the compound, it looks like they're the only ones left alive. All the soldiers are basically dead, but security is lax, and Pooh figures, well, if we can't go back, we might as well go forward. They tear through the fences, infiltrate the compound, and inside the laboratory they find these containment chambers that are filled with other genetically engineered people, which are a cross between humans and animals. And he says, we got to cut this off at the source. Let's find the power source. They go deeper into the chamber of the central power core for the lab, and they find the room is empty. But there is somebody waiting for them on the nearby ledge of the viewing area, and it turns out to be Dr. Kanga, who has now transformed herself into a human kangaroo hybrid, and her quote-unquote son, Roo, who's this big muscle-bound thug. Roo jumps down, starts a fight. They manage to win the fight, Pooh and Piglet, but before they kill Roo and decide what to do next, Tigger arrives with an interesting proposition, and that's where we ended. Let's switch over to the technical aspects, starting with the character work. there's not a lot of character development for Pooh other than he's placed in a position where he feels like he has to do something to help his friend. So there's a bit of loyalty there, but really the main character growth and development comes between the relationship between Pooh and Piglet. They can't stand each other when they start off. They're yelling at each other, insulting each other. It's really a contentious relationship. But as the issue moves on, by being forced to fight together to save themselves and continue the mission, there's a little bit of trust and a little bit of respect that starts to creep in. So you get the feeling that through their camaraderie of just a shared dangerous experience, that there's something developing there in their relationship. Whether it goes more than just respectful colleagues, we don't know, but that's where the main character thrust lies, is in the relationship, not with any one person. Let's move over to the art by Jordi Tarragona. It looks amazing. This is not like Spawn style imagery that you would see from Image Comics or something that you would see from the big two like Marvel or DC. Tarragona's style is very detailed, surprisingly detailed, but there's a sort of a caricature-ish type of flair to how he does character work. And so there's a mix of whimsy and a little bit of cartoonishness to it that gives it a bit more pep and energy and life. It doesn't look cartoony in a negative way, but there's definitely a style there, and it looks fantastic. The main thrust of getting a concept like this to work is in the character designs, because you have sort of this hybrid of man and animal put together, and they have to come across as people with human personalities. And Tarragona does a fantastic job pulling that off. We'll switch over to pacing and structure. So the pacing is excellent. The story moves up to a point. We'll get to that in a second. The pacing moves very well. You get a lot of action. There's a lot of twists and turns as they're attacked over the island and they have to parachute down to the island. Then there's birdmen and spiders and more mutants and all kinds of fighting. So it feels like a throwback to a 1980s sweaty, muscly, testosterone-fueled action film. So you get a lot of that, which is good. The downside is in the beginning part where Pooh is speaking with General Robin and he's giving him the lay of the land and spelling out the nature of the mission. It turns into a wall of text from all the dialogue. It really drags down the pacing. So the beginning pages start with a flashback where you see early days of the friendship bond between Bambi and Pooh. This sort of informs the complex feelings that Pooh is feeling about his betrayal or what he had to do to kill Bambi. But you get the impression that if they'd used those early pages to set up Tigger's mission and to kind of give you that flashback to, it would have saved a lot of that dialogue and would have helped the story move along a lot better. Thematically, this issue is all about trust. Pooh suffers from his feelings of feeling like the guilt that comes from breaking his trust by killing Bambi in the first issue. And now he has to learn to trust Piglet, who doesn't trust him in return. And as they start to develop a bond of trust, the last scene, there's a twist cliffhanger that causes Pooh to question everyone he's ever trusted for whatever reason. So this issue is all about trust. Taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture, if you're wondering where does this version of Pooh fit in with the classic Winnie the Pooh written by A.A. Milne and illustrated by E.H. Shepard, the answer is it doesn't. Pooh recently came into the public domain, and that means anybody can use that character for whatever reason that they want to do with anything that they want. So except for the name and the physical appearance, sort of, this has nothing to do with the original book. And every artist and every entertainment creator can use Pooh in any way they like, as long as I think it doesn't step on the toes of Disney's version of Winnie the Pooh, which is a little bit newer and has its own unique style and character and branding. Final thoughts when we think about Pooh versus Bambi number 2. The concept is super original, and now the story has changed from a man on the run story to a retired soldier enlisted to rescue an old friend story. So you've got a different trajectory from the first issue, which is fine. There's a lot to like from the art. It's fantastic. And the action scenes when they hit are really hard hitting, and they really give you that throwback feel to classic 1980s action films. However, the beginning part of the comic is dragged down by these walls of text that really hinder and harm the pace, which, something that could be adjusted if with a little bit more thought into how to use the prologue. So overall, entertaining comic, but it definitely has some hard reading spots in the beginning of the issue. Therefore, we're going to give Pooh versus Bambi number 2 from Zenescope Entertainment a 7.5 out of 10. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you like, alternate versions of Pooh that are coming out in horror and comics and every other thing that you can think of where anybody has an inkling of an idea? Or do you like your Pooh more traditional? Let us know in the comments section. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned through the outro for the next review.